All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son Hamashiach, whose son called Yahweh Shai Yeshua, Yehoshua, we mostly know as Jesus Christ. Brother Phineas, another short lesson, trying to keep this thing under 10 minutes. I did see a pastor, a TikTok video of a pastor, Kojic pastor. I forget his name. And Shalakia, brother. Apologies. But he was dealing with the whole election and one of the candidates being, in support of abortions and how that's problematic for being a Christian, and how could Christians vote on a candidate that is supporting abortions. And he used the example of Jephthah, Jephthah in Judges. And for those who don't know, Jephthah he made a vow to the Lord. If the Lord gave him this victory, he would sacrifice the first thing that walked through the door. And what could walk through the door? What would walk through the door besides a person? What would walk through his door besides, someone that he knows? So he was willing to sacrifice. If you're just thinking about that mindset of him making that vow, he's willing to sacrifice, something close to him. That would, be the first thing that walks through the door if he was to receive this victory. And the first thing that walked through the door was his daughter, which, pretty much he had to keep the vow. He had to break it down to her that, hey, you know what, I made this vow, long story short, she was like, well, if that's what you did, that's what you got to do. Just let me, do this, take my little virginity vow or something. They went up on the hill, they danced, and they memorialized this day. And a lot of sisters and this could be something sisters could glean from, if we were operating as a community in the nation, this could be something we can glean from, and this could be something we could use, just like they're using it within the text to support sisters and encourage sisters, our young sisters, to save themselves. Save themselves until marriage. And, you have it where nobody, if you're not in this, you're not a virgin, you don't get to do this celebration. All right. You don't get to go over there and do this celebration. Maybe we, do something for these sisters to encourage them, to support them. These be some things we can sit around and have conversations about. But again, we're far from that, man. We get so offended so quickly, we can't even have these conversations. But if you're within the body, your body's big enough, and y'all have, younger sisters, this could be something that y'all could do, y'all could glean from. But the whole thing about what we're doing here and why we're talking about Jephthah is the fact that in order to win, he was willing to sacrifice his, a close loved one, even his child. And that Kamala Harris, I don't know, I guess I could say her name. Kamala Harris also is, almost doing the same thing, pretty much doing the same thing. That's one of her selling points. That's one of her selling points to win is, you being able to do abortions. And a lot of sisters are lining up. My choice, my body. A lot of sisters are lining up for that. It also though brought up some other verses for me that I used to bring out a lot back in the heyday. That I wanted to share. Because everybody don't have kids. And you may sacrifice. We sacrifice for our children, but do we really sacrifice for our children, or are we sacrificing for ourselves, and are we sacrificing to win and then really sacrificing our children in doing so? Are we putting certain things, our careers, our significant others, our wants, and then getting those things, or attaching ourselves to some of these worldly things that our kids are being sacrificed, because there's a sacrifice outside of that clinic. And that's kind of what I want to deal with and talk briefly on in this video. Lamentations 4 verse 1, it says, how is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out into the top of every street. The precious stones of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers? The work of the hands of the potter, just going into how Israel, something that was deemed and esteemed so high has fallen so low. Something that was gold have now been brought down to earthen vessels or clay pots, clay pitchers, etc. Verse 3 says, even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel like the ostriches in the wilderness. And we're going to deal with that ostriches in the wilderness in Job 39 to glean from how do the ostriches in the wilderness actually operate. And if you just if you know about ostriches and you watch a little National Geographic, you would know, but we'll see it in the text also, and why some of the writers would use this description to describe a mother who a bad mother. But it says even the sea monsters. Okay, even the sea monsters will draw out their breasts and give suck to their young ones. He says, but my people, they've become cruel, like ostriches in the wilderness. It says, the tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. All right, these kids are out here asking for bread, asking for help, and nobody's helping them. And that's, especially within the Black community. We have, we call them YNSs there. We're separating ourselves. We're severing ourselves away from our kids. We're becoming further and further away, from these kids, man. We want nothing to do with them. And that can be almost considered a sacrifice where we're leaving them out here like the ostrich in the wilderness. And that wilderness can be the slums, the ghettos, okay, the hood. It ain't even gotta be that. It can be the the suburbs and the nice communities if they're left alone. And then that's another one of the issues is, they're like the ostriches in the wilderness. Those children being left alone, mom and dad working all day, every day. And the child is left to a tablet. The child is left to cartoons, World Star, Apple Music, and it's downloading. Especially younger children. Younger children are like Neo in the Matrix when he first got in, and they just downloading. They taking them tablets, they just downloading. And one of the clear examples that a kid has been sacrificed is that they just speak nothing like the parents. They don't have the parents' same mannerisms. I done talk to kids, man. That they sound just like the cartoons. They're not country. But then I done seen kids, especially kids that's out there in the out there in the country. They have them same mannerisms as their father. You can tell that they only around certain people. They only around they close loved ones. But others, when you ripping and running and you on the treadmill of life, you can end up sacrificing those kids. And you want the best for them, and you're buying them this and you're buying them that and da 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 da. But you're sacrificing that relationship. You're sacrificing and building and putting yourself in those kids. Yeah, they look like you, but they're nothing like you. How many times have we seen that? Let's go to Job 39 and then we'll get up out of here briefly. Job 3:9, verse 13 here. It says, Gavest thou, this is, most high challenging Job. It says, Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacock? Huh? Did you have a peacock? Did you dress that peacock to have them beautiful wings and beautiful feathers, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich, which leaveth her eggs in the earth and warmeth them in dust? All right. She don't sit on them eggs like that. Sometimes she just let it warm in the dust, and forget of that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beasts may break them. And people talk about the beast system, and but that wild beast, especially in today's time, Satan and his technologies, and the devices that the world is using to manipulate the minds of the youth, and not just the youth, the adults too. Man, it got us all of it got us whipped up. I even myself have problems with it. These are things we have to work on. And we forget that the foot may crush them. We don't know the dangers. We forget the dangers of leaving our child home alone. And you know how we forget it? Because we have phones. We feel like it's okay. I know my child's location. We had the locations on. I know where they're at. But you don't know what they're doing. And so you have this false sense of security. I know where I left that egg. She got the ostrich. We're going to call it the ostrich syndrome. And this is why we have all these YNSs. That's why we have this whole situation with that rapper Young Dirk, and that whole Chicago drill rap movement that just countless murders. Because all of them were ostriches. All of them were eggs raised by ostriches. Oh man. What was it? O Block? O Block was a wilderness. It's a wilderness. It's the dust that those eggs were left in. And forget that the foot can break them. That the wild beast can come in and break them. She is hardened against her young ones, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear, because God hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. She doesn't have wisdom. She's lost her understanding. We believe now that we can give these kids these phones and everything is going to be, and everything gets better. I don't have to watch them like that. They're not going to cry as much. They don't need as much attention. And you know why the kids want the phone? And this the crazy part. You know why kids are so influenced by the phone? Because you're always on it. You know why kids love keys and love to, want your keys more than you want? Because they always see you leaving. They always see you grabbing them keys, playing with them keys, getting ready to go. So they want the keys. They trying to understand what is it about these keys? What is it about that TV remote? I'm trying to see what is it? It's something about this remote control. Trying to figure it out, trying to see what you do. But see, when you see that issue, when you see that, that's you. That's really you. They're mimicking. They're mimicking your habits. All right, and it's probably bad habits. This is why when we was growing up, you know, we weren't allowed to be around adults. We weren't even allowed to see what adults were doing. When we had the family functions, kids would have another room they were in. We didn't even hear the adult conversations. You know, you could sneak down to hear whatever, but nah, they kept the kids separate. They kept them in another room because they had a little more wisdom, a little more understanding. They knew some of the devices, some of the problems with young kids being around adults too much. And now, you know, there's certain relationship and dynamics, you know, between, you know, like daughters and mothers. You know, we can get into that too. I want to say it's Isaiah 50. Is that Isaiah as the mother? As the mother, gonna take up this proverb. As the mother, so is the daughter. You know, these young sisters, seeing you little kids dancing in front of the camera because, you know, they get the camera, set the camera up themselves. Can't be no more than 2-3 years old and start dancing in front of the camera because that's what she sees her mother doing. Her mother sat her in the bed. She ain't in the camera, but the baby sitting up there with the bottle looking at her mother since she was an infant, watching her mother twerking in front of the camera. And that's us sacrificing. You know, at that point, you're sacrificing that child. You're trying to become this YouTube influencer. You're trying to get the likes. You're trying to get the money, thinking it'll provide a better life for your kids. And then you realize, hey, you know what? Man, I had to go through some stuff. And you find it, you mess around and you get the money. You're like, man, I had to go through so much to get that money. Man, it was so dark. I don't want my kids going through that, but your kids gonna follow that because they watched you go through it, but they didn't see the dark side. And so they don't have some of the wisdom, some of the stuff that was taught to you. And so they get even deeper and it's even worse for them. All right, I pray this thing was edifying, man. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one. Shalom.